Guardiola leaves Man City, Amorim's first big signing at Manchester United. Kevin De Bruyne to Barcelona, a blunder by Barca's management or a clever move. Chiesa returns to Italy. His new club will definitely surprise you. All this and more in today's episode. Ready? Then, let's get started. Kevin De Bruyne, a symbol of stability and creativity in midfield, has suddenly decided that life in England is no longer exciting. His contract is expiring and no one seems to be in a hurry to renew it. Negotiations frozen. Is it a dubious pause or a clever move? Most likely the latter. Kevin himself pretends to be content. But who believes that? Guardiola has already publicly thrown his hands up, claiming to be unaware of any plans. We're sure he understands everything perfectly well. 7 games without a win, and then this twist. Pep is clearly on edge. And to add fuel to the fire, the press is chiming in. De Bruyne to Barcelona. Sounds tempting, doesn't it? A free agent, an experienced playmaker ready to orchestrate the Catalan attacks. However, it's not that simple. We remember how it went with Gundogan. They signed him for free, but then they looked at his salary and were slightly stunned. Laporta, of course, loves a good story with financial levers, but can he afford Kevin's demands? De Bruyne is clearly not the type to take a pay cut for sunshine and beaches. Saudi Arabia is breathing down his neck with a suitcase full of money. Who can resist? On the other hand, Barca is a challenge. A new league, El Clasico, a unique atmosphere. De Bruyne hasn't tested himself in Spain yet, and you have to admit there's a certain romance to it. But does Barca need this luxury? After all, rumors are circulating that they plan to sell De Jong to ease the wage bill. Replacing one top player with another? Sounds logical. But what will Flick say? Does he need a player who, as some say, has lost his speed and physicality? Maybe so, but Kevin's ability to read the game is priceless, and his leadership is undeniable. Let's imagine him for a minute in the Blaugrana jersey. A cool, precise pass to Lewandowski or a brilliant one-touch play. A utopia? Perhaps. But no one can stop us from dreaming. And what about Saudi Arabia? Easy money, a relaxed league, star status until retirement. But is that the path De Bruyne would choose? It's hard to believe. So, what awaits us? A magnificent saga of De Bruyne's return to the top or a quiet exit for petrodollars? What do you think? Leave your comments, share your opinion, and don't forget to like. Okay guys, it looks like Guardiola is once again giving us riddles on the level of what happens if you pull a card out of a house of cards. Pep has extended his contract, but he's already hinting that he might leave City. A contract, according to him, isn't a reason to stay if you feel like you're superfluous. The question is, what's going on with Guardiola, and what is this strange feeling that he's tired of himself? Just think about it. He says he doesn't want to be a problem. Seriously? A coach who has won the Premier League 3 times in a row suddenly considers himself a burden. Okay, let's assume that's true. But who exactly told Pep that he's a problem? Could it be Pep himself? There's a sense here that there's something more than just fatigue after a long season. Maybe it's a crisis of motivation, or simple burnout. Or maybe he's already mentally packing his bags and looking for a new adventure. If you remember how he left Barcelona and Bayern, everything becomes clearer. Pep always needs change. He's like an artist who gets tired of painting with the same colors. And now we see how this genius is starting to get bored. He talks about rebuilding the team. Okay, that's logical. But how do you explain the November catastrophe? 0 points in the Premier League, 0 wins in all competitions. Let's be honest, for City, this is a blow below the belt. Could this be related to his emotional state? To his constant thoughts about the future? And what if Pep really feels like a prisoner of his own genius? How long can you repeat the same thing, even if it works perfectly? It seems that every match of his now is like an exam for the right to stay at a club where he has already won everything there is to win. And this is where the most interesting part begins. What if Guardiola really leaves? Who will City invite to replace him? Alonso? Zidane? Come on, let's not jump to conclusions. But just imagine the chaos that will begin at the club. Intrigue is in the air, and it smells like the change of an era. And while Pep and City continue their game of nerves, let's follow the development of events. What do you think about this situation? Is Guardiola really ready to leave, or is he just playing with fire? Write your thoughts in the comments. Manchester United are on the hunt again, and this time their target is Omar Marmoush. This guy from Eintracht Frankfurt is tearing up the Bundesliga right now, scoring and providing assists almost every game. 15 goals and 11 assists in 18 games. That's superstar-level statistics. It's no surprise that a queue of top clubs has already formed for him, and our Red Devils are no exception. The new boss at Old Trafford, Ruben Amorim, is clearly not one to shy away. He arrived, he saw, and immediately sent scouts to Denmark to assess in person what this 25-year-old goalscorer is capable of. Just recently, he was being linked with Liverpool, but it seems United are now determined. And you know what? I understand them. A player like this is a real treasure for any team. Fast, skillful, with a nose for goal, capable of both finishing attacks and creating chances for teammates. He's a dream forward. Of course, Eintracht aren't fools. They understand what a diamond they have in their hands, and according to rumours, they've already slapped a £60 million price tag on him. Yes, it's a significant sum, but frankly, Marmoush is worth it. His market value has skyrocketed over the past year, and in the event of a real transfer war, it could jump even higher. And this is where the question arises. Are the United bosses ready to shell out and enter this race? After all, we're not just talking about a good player, but about the potential first signing of the Amorim era. This is a statement, a signal of serious intentions. But the competition isn't sleeping either. Arsenal, according to rumours, have also pricked up their ears and are ready to snatch Marmoush right from under United's nose. And this is where things get interesting. Who will be quicker? Can Manchester outbid the Gunners? Or perhaps the Egyptian forward will prefer another club? If the Red Devils want to reclaim their former glory, they need to act decisively. Waiting until the summer is dangerous. During that time, Marmoush could further increase his price and the competition for him will become even fiercer. So, dear United bosses, now is the time to show what you're capable of. Signing a player like this isn't just about strengthening the attack, it's about boosting the morale of the entire team and restoring the fans' faith in a bright future. What do you think? Can Marmoush become the new hero of Old Trafford, or is this just another transfer rumour? Share your opinion in the comments. Lucho Diaz and the new contract, a tug of war at Liverpool? Antena 2 is whispering about disagreements. Apparently, Diaz wants more money than the Liverpool bosses are currently willing to shell out. And honestly, who wouldn't? The guy works like a horse, tearing up the wing, and he's getting peanuts. A contract until 2027. Paper is patient, as they say. Meanwhile, PSG and Barcelona are already sharpening their knives. A versatile player with dribbling skills like his is any coach's dream. And yet, there's this uncertainty hanging in the air. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Today you're a hero, tomorrow you're on the bench, twiddling your thumbs. Diaz arrived from Porto in January 2022. And so what? He's still on the same contract, like some youngster, not a star player. He's one of the lowest paid players in Slot's team. The irony is palpable, especially considering he gives 100% every game. Injuries, sure, they set him back, but right now, Lucho is on fire. Slot adores him, but they're not offering him a new contract. Where's the logic in that? Sensational. That's how they describe Diaz's performances. He rips through the opposition's defense like a hot knife through butter. And yet, apparently, he's underpaid. But honestly, hand on heart, who among us would turn down a pay raise? Barcelona? Just empty rumors, some claim. Diaz is happy. Negotiations are going smoothly. Right, sure, we believe that. And who would resist the temptation to play at the Camp Nou? Liverpool isn't stupid either. They have a strategy, wait a year or two, see how the player performs, and then renegotiate the contract. Clever, but with Diaz, that tactic might not work. Paris Saint-Germain and Barcelona are wide awake. Slot, of course, is thrilled with Lucho. He calls him a key player, but words are just words, and a contract is action. Let's talk when the ink is dry. So what happens next? Will Diaz stay at Anfield, or will he set off to conquer new heights? Share your predictions in the comments. Let's discuss. It appears that Gianluigi Donnarumma, the once golden boy of Italian football, is seriously considering leaving PSG. And, frankly, it's understandable. Sitting on the bench in the most important matches of the season when you're only 25 and in your prime. That's quite a blow to one's self-esteem, you know. This whole circus started when Luis Enrique, the Spanish genius of tactical experiments, decided to bench Donnarumma for the match against Bayern Munich. Instead of the Italian, Safonov took his place in goal. And what happened in the end? He conceded a goal. That's how it is, folks. Enrique, of course, can pretend to be a great strategist all he wants, but when you have a beast like Donnarumma in your squad and you bench him, it smacks of outright amateurism. And now the most interesting part, Inter has already set its sights on the situation. Yes, the very same Nerazzurri, whose goalkeeper is old man Sommer, who is already pushing 36. The Swissman, of course, is a great guy, but time takes its toll. And here's such an opportunity to snatch Donnarumma and even troll their sworn friends from Milan. It's a beautiful thing. Of course, the question of the contract arises. Donna has an agreement with PSG until 2026, but as they say, where there's a will, there's a way. Especially since negotiations on extending the contract have stalled. Apparently, the Italian is waiting for the moment to slam the door beautifully. As for the price, it's all very interesting here. PSG, of course, won't want to let such a player go for peanuts, but they won't be able to bargain much either. After all, an unhappy player is a problematic asset. So perhaps it will be possible to agree on a reasonable price and not for the astronomical sums that Parisians usually ask for. In general, the situation is just a fairy tale. On the one hand, there's an ambitious goalkeeper who is tired of being second choice. On the other, a coach who seems to have completely lost confidence in the player. And on the third, Inter, who are rubbing their hands in anticipation of a possible deal. Personally, my opinion, Donnarumma needs to get out of the club. PSG is of course a cool club with crazy money, but when you're not appreciated, what's the point of staying? Especially since Inter is on a roll now, fighting for the Scudetto, and with a keeper like Donnarumma, they can really aim for something serious in Europe. What do you think, friends? Should Donnarumma pack his bags or fight for a place in the PSG squad? Personally, if I were him, I would already be looking for tickets to Milan. Liverpool's summer signing hasn't even had time to properly break in his boots on the Anfield turf, and already rumours are swirling about his future. Napoli, they say, is eyeing Federico Chiesa as a potential replacement for Khvicha Kvaratskhelia, should the Georgian decide to move on next summer. In fact, Chiesa's transfer to the Reds, where he's played a grand total of 19 minutes in the Premier League, is already being dubbed the disappointment of the year. So much for welcome to Liverpool. The Italians, meanwhile, are already making plans for him. They're saying things like, Federico will show everyone he's still explosive. He has that spark, that fire we need. It's as if someone put a curse on him and extinguished that fire. But still, there's some logic to their thinking. Perhaps a return to familiar surroundings, to the Serie A he knows so well, could be just the breath of fresh air he needs to revitalize his career. After all, he's shown in Italy, both at Fiorentina and Juventus. And Napoli, with their tactical approach, might just be the perfect place for his talents to be utilized. But here's the thing, Chiesa is undoubtedly a quality player. But can he really replace Kvaratskhelia, the Georgian darling of the Neapolitan faithful? That's a heavy burden to bear, let me tell you. But Federico isn't one to shy away from a challenge, and he's already proven himself in big matches. Maybe he just hasn't been given enough time at Liverpool. He needs a few more chances, or at least a proper training period. And this brings us to the key question. What about Liverpool? Will they let Chiesa go so easily? They invested money in him after all, and the guy has a long-term contract. Logically, they should fight to keep him. But on the other hand, if a player isn't performing, maybe it's better to reinvest those funds in more pressing positions. Of course, Liverpool won't let him go easily. It's obvious. He'll then go and shine at Napoli, and they'll be kicking themselves. But Napoli aren't fools. They won't overpay for a pig in a poke, for a player whose physical condition is questionable. They're probably thinking, can we pull a fast one here? So, the situation is very complicated. Everything seems to be hanging in the balance. And as the saying goes, every cloud has a silver lining. The fact that Chiesa hasn't hit the ground running in England isn't exactly a surprise. Moving from Serie A to the Premier League is often like going from a sauna to a freezer. And the fact that he missed pre-season obviously didn't help either. Meanwhile, Liverpool are doing just fine without him. It's a paradox. They bought a prize horse, but it turns out he's not quite ready for the races. The guy is talented. He just needs to adapt to his new environment. And if he does, he could still become a key player for Liverpool. So we're kind of waiting, and kind of not waiting. But this interest from Napoli certainly adds another layer of complexity to the whole story. Liverpool won't want to lose a promising player, especially if he ends up thriving at another club. But perhaps if the Italians make a good offer, it might be worth considering. And while we're all speculating, Chiesa is probably sitting somewhere thinking, where will this winding football road take me next? So friends, the situation could change in an instant. What do you think about all this? Do you think Chiesa will still have a significant impact on the football world, or has his star already faded? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's discuss. Christopher Nkunku is one of those names that makes Chelsea fans ask the same question: what on earth is going on at the club? This season, the Frenchman has become the Blues' top scorer, yet his role in the team hangs precariously in the balance. Why? Because under Enzo Maresca, Nkunku has morphed into a player who spends more time watching from the sidelines than participating in the game. Let's start with the facts. Nkunku made his name in the Bundesliga, playing for RB Leipzig. There, he was a star, the team's main attacking weapon. But at Chelsea, his career resembles a train about to veer off the main track onto a sideline, where uncertainty awaits. Why? Simply because he doesn't have a guaranteed starting spot at Chelsea. Yes, he's the top scorer, but that's no guarantee of playing time. Meanwhile, on the horizon looms the Parc des Princes. Yes, Paris Saint-Germain is interested in bringing back their former academy player. This isn't just gossip, it's a real possibility that could be Nkunku's salvation. Just think about it. A French club, his home country, and the chance to prove himself again in a familiar environment. Sounds tempting, doesn't it? But here's where it gets interesting. Chelsea has no intention of letting Nkunku go in the January transfer window. Why? Because the club has an inflated squad, and potentially Nkunku is still important to them. Despite his limited playing time, the club sees potential in him for the future. Who needs to weaken their squad when they can strengthen it? So, Nkunku continues to wait for his chance, fighting for every minute on the pitch. What if we look at the situation from a different angle? A proposed swap deal between Chelsea and PSG, which would see Randal Kolo Muani move to London and Nkunku to Paris, adds another layer of intrigue. Just imagine, two talented players who can't break into their club's starting lineups. Is this their fate? This begs the logical question: does Chelsea even need Kolo Muani? Sure, he's fast and physically powerful, but Chelsea already has a glut of attacking players. It's unlikely he could drastically change the situation. Meanwhile, Nkunku at PSG could once again become the player he was at Leipzig. He just needs more playing time and faith in his talent. The irony is that both players showcased their abilities in the Bundesliga, but things aren't clicking at their new clubs. Maybe it's a matter of adaptation, or maybe it's just bad luck. In any case, their current situation raises questions about how clubs manage their squads. Wouldn't it be better for Chelsea to give Nkunku more playing time instead of treating him as a backup? After all, his technical skills and vision could be key to strengthening their attack. And if he leaves for PSG, it will be a loss for Chelsea, but perhaps one that, in the long run, benefits both parties. Ultimately, it all boils down to this: Nkunku's career hangs in the balance and his future is uncertain. The intrigue remains, and answers will only come with time. For now, we can only guess what will happen next. What do you think? Will Nkunku go to PSG and rediscover his form? Or will Chelsea finally give him the playing time he deserves? If you, like many, thought Mudryk was going to be the explosive talent that lit up the Premier League, then pull up a chair. Chelsea are reportedly ready to let the Ukrainian go in January. Yes, that's right, the same Mudryk they splashed out a whopping £89 million for in the winter of 2023. And now they're letting him go, on loan. So, what went wrong? Why is the guy once dubbed the Ukrainian Neymar now sidelined on Chelsea's grand project? Perhaps it was the weight of sky-high expectations, perhaps it was the club's frantic pursuit of hyped-up signings. Or maybe Enzo Maresca just doesn't see the point in keeping a player who seems to lose the ball more often than he contributes. Just one start this season. For a player with that price tag, it's a clear failure. Few would argue otherwise. Now, Newcastle, Crystal Palace, and even Barcelona are reportedly willing to offer Mudryk a lifeline. Intriguing, right? Especially when you consider Eddie Howe's long-standing desire to add pace and unpredictability to Newcastle's attack. But wait, what about those Barcelona rumors? Can you picture Mudryk playing under Hansi Flick? Sounds a bit far-fetched, doesn't it? But then again, stranger things have happened in football. Let's talk money. £30 million. That's the reported figure potential buyers are willing to pay. Simple math, £89 million minus £30 million equals a £59 million loss for Chelsea. How's that for a good deal? Of course, the transfer fee isn't the only problem. His contract, folks, is the major headache for all parties involved. Who's prepared to pay Mudryk a salary befitting a top club player? That's the million-dollar question. And isn't there another subtle point here? Chelsea has ceased to be a club that offers time for adaptation. Maresca arrived in the summer and immediately began a ruthless clear-out. No sentimentality. Impress him and you play. Fail to impress and there's the door. It seems Mudryk has been shown the exit. The irony is that the club is still searching for a buyer. Their condition is simple. The deal must be beneficial for Chelsea. But how do you profit when no one is willing to spend big? Many clubs are open to a loan, but a permanent transfer is a different story. Could it be that Mudryk's ambition got the better of him? He joined Chelsea and his career went into a tailspin. Can Mudryk still revive his career? Absolutely. He's still young. At 23, there's plenty of time for a reset. The question is, which club can get the best out of him? Newcastle? Why not? Palace? Also a possibility. But Barcelona? Really? One wants to believe it, but it seems doubtful for now. What do you think? Can Mudryk still shine elsewhere? Or is he a lost cause? Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like this video.